Also this summer, we hosted our Young Women's Leadership Summit. There's big concern. Who's going to do something to win over young women? We've been doing this for 10 years, everybody, for a decade. We've had tens of thousands of young conservative women that have been trained and that are now, they're running for Congress. They are running state representative campaigns. They're CEO of companies. They're moms. They're leaders in their community, in their church. Largest ever Young Women's Leadership Summit. This was back in June. 3,000 young women attended in Dallas, Texas. Here's a little summary.
The whole internet is spiraling right now, and this time the reason is massive. Candace Owens just dropped a bombshell. She's had footage from the Aspen event, Charlie's full speech, sitting in her hands for 7 whole months. So this whole time, every time Blake Neff came out saying we have the video and Charlie appointed Erika as the next CEO of TPUSA, we just can't release it because we don't want to expose our donors. Candace already knew that was a complete lie. And it doesn't stop there. Remember the Daily Mail article where they claimed they got a private viewing of Charlie's speech? They went on record saying it was real, that Charlie said those exact words, "I appoint Erika Kirk to be the next CEO of Turning Point USA. Erika would do a great job." All of that confirmed. Now let's break down exactly how this whole thing collapsed and how TPUSA supporters reacted when the truth came out. Spoiler, they went straight into gaslight mode again. But first, what finally pushed Candace to expose the fact that she'd been sitting on this video? One name, Alex Clark and her big mouth. It started when Candace tweeted about the recent Women's Leadership Summit, and she didn't hold back. She wrote,
in August, before all this happened, he had a event where he had some donors at, and one of the first questions they asked was, God forbid if something happens to you, like what would happen next to Turning Point? And Charlie made a really interesting point. He said companies, example, Apple, Macintosh, he said they're founder-led. He said, but what I have built will one day, if I'm not around, be vision-led. And he had made mention at the end, Erika will do a great job running it. And when I watched that video this week, it really put into perspective my youth. And
notice it's no longer called the Young Women's Leadership Summit because they've completely lost the youth since Charlie's passing. This is RNC Light. It's now the hug-snugging summit with donors occupying speaking slots to lecture women about how it's biblical to not question anything. Turning Point no longer has anything to do with Charlie Kirk, and the whole world knows it, including them. No spark, no energy, no debate. Frankly, stale. She even shared a clip of one of the speakers at the event just quoting Bible verses about how you can't speak ill of a widow. Then she added more. The event was, of course, sponsored by the J Christian Fellowship, and there are factually just a lot of older women there, which is why they are not sharing crowd shots. I'll just go ahead and tag you, Blake Neff, so you can cry in the comments expeditiously. She then posted a correction.
A lot of organizations and groups, as soon as a founder leaves, it just kind of collapses. A lot of my job is not always in the day-to-day details. It's very much vision casting, very much driving success. But we have a great board, and God forbid if something happens, they'll figure it out. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
Minor correction, it was sponsored by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, an organization with deep ties to Justin Strive's father. More on that this week. And who showed up to push back? Alex Clark. She reposted a screenshot of Charlie himself saying, I think we change YWLS to WLSs, with someone pointing out that Charlie first suggested that name change back in 2021. It had been an internal conversation for years. Alex Clark reposted it and fired back, saying Candace still won't acknowledge this and retract her statement. She even called it a pursuit of truth with so many detours, a clear shot at Candace. But that was it. That was the last straw. One too many out of context, Charlie quotes. And Candace was done playing it cool. She fired off one final tweet right before she completely broke the internet, and that follow-up changed everything. This reveal deserves to be documented properly because this isn't just drama. This is an epic takedown in real time.
The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job.
Candace came out swinging with this tweet, and it hit like a freight train. You guys are some of the dumbest people in the world to not consider that I've been sitting on Charlie's Aspen video for the last 7 months. I am light years ahead of you toothless cogs who deserve nothing but the resentment you have earned from the entire world. Since you are now shamelessly attempting to use an out-of-context text from 2021 to pretend that Charlie wanted to change the event from the Young Women's Leadership Conference to a BoomerCon NagFest, here is the relevant portion from his Aspen donor event, captured just 3 weeks before he passed, where he carefully laid out his vision for the organization for over 2 hours. Please note Charlie's explanation that the past and future vision was for young women to gather at Welless, but I'm sure he changed his mind a week later, right? And yes, she attached the clip. Right there. No warning, just dropped it. But that wasn't even the tweet that broke everything. This one was, since Temu Alex Cooper is all about the pursuit of truth and her budget CEO accomplice Marina Minas is backing her lies up, surely they won't mind me putting up Charlie's entire 3-hour Aspen video on my website tomorrow. You won't threaten a lawsuit, right? Wouldn't it be good for the world to hear Charlie in his own words for hours saying what he wanted for the organization, so we don't have to further suffer this bootlegged, failing, effeminate, knockoff relic which seeks to lie about literally everything he desired for no reason? Let the world hear Charlie Kirk in his own words. Personally, I found it weird how he only mentions Erika as being involved in the faith division, the most observably corrupt and ironically soulless division of the entire organization.
But I want to preface, we're not awkward. We're not like weird.
Cringy.
We're not cringe. We're not going to be tweeting as if it's him. That's tone deaf and really disturbing. And anyone who does that's like morbidly off.
Oddly, there was no mention of her capability to run an entire company or even a remote shout-out of her as a member of the executive team. But what say you, girl bosses? Let's just drop the entire video and let the world settle the score. She had the video the whole time and she waited. She let TPUSA dig their own grave and then she showed up with the receipts. And here's what makes this even wilder. When Erika was first appointed CEO, most people were fine with it. The board voted her in, she had some business experience, she ran a fashion company, and people figured maybe she genuinely knew Charlie and could carry his vision forward. Nobody was pressing too hard. Then things started getting strange. She seemed a little too comfortable in that seat and a little too different from everything Charlie stood for. The lies started stacking up, allegedly, and people began asking real questions. Does she actually have what it takes to run TPUSA? Are her intentions genuine? Is she really there to protect Charlie's legacy or something else entirely? So when public trust started cracking, how did Erika respond? She went on Megyn Kelly and made a very specific claim, and knowing what we know now, that claim hits completely different. Because now we know the video exists, and in that video Charlie never said what she implied, he said, what he most likely said was that Erika would do a great job leading the faith division, not that she'd run the entire organization after he was gone. That's a massive difference! And here's where it gets even more unsettling. AmFest was in December. They were already deep in planning mode back in November. The program, the speakers, the intros, all of it. So they were already planning to have Erika open AmFest, which means they were probably already planning what would play during her intro. So the question has to be asked, did the audio come first? Did someone create that clip and then send Erika out to Megyn Kelly to set the story up? Let's be clear about one thing, Candace didn't invent the video story. Nobody in the public did. It was Erika herself who first told everyone that Charlie was caught on video, saying she would do a great job running TPUSA one day. She planted that seed. And what happened next? They doubled down hard. They played an audio clip of Charlie supposedly appointing Erika as the next CEO live at AmFest. And everyone needs to ask the question out loud. Whose idea was that? Was it Erika? Did someone say we need Charlie's voice to say it, and once people hear it, they'll calm down and move on? Or was it Andrew Colvert, the PR mastermind who seems capable of pulling off moves like that? Because what happened next was something else entirely. Erika walked out onto that stage surrounded by fireworks, wearing her glittery pantsuit, while that audio played an audio that, allegedly, was generated by AI using her late husband's voice. And she stood there quoting scripture. guilt-tripping people for questioning what was happening, cracking jokes about Egyptian planes while allegedly knowing the whole thing was built on a lie. How disturbing is that? And now, Candace's intensity makes complete sense. If she had been sitting on that footage for 7 months, watching each new layer of deception unfold in real time, of course she was furious. Then they showed another clip at the Women's Leadership Summit, and they even inserted footage of Erika and Charlie together, kissing, sandwiched right in the middle of what is allegedly AI-generated audio. It's deeply unsettling to even think about. But here's where it gets even bigger, the Daily Mail. Remember that article? They came out and reported that while the Aspen donor conference video had never been released to the public, they had been given exclusive access to watch the full video, speak to people who were actually in that room, and report on exactly what was said. And this secrecy around the footage had become the centerpiece of the entire controversy surrounding Turning Point and its new CEO, Erika Kirk. The Daily Mail described the scene around 200 TPUSA donors sitting nervously at an exclusive Aspen retreat when one patron stood up and asked Charlie something nobody else wanted to say out loud. Kind of a hard question to ask, but I think it's probably important to everybody in this room. And I'm wondering about Turning Point's succession plan should, God forbid, something happen to you. Charlie's response? What a great question delivered completely deadpan, which got some very tense laughter from the room. According to the article, Charlie talked about how some of America's greatest founder-led organizations had collapsed after their leaders stepped away. His goal, he said, was to make Turning Point vision-led. Then came the quote everyone has been fighting over. I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erika would do a great job. And just like that next question, now here's the problem. The Daily Mail's description of what they supposedly watched is almost completely lacking in visual detail. It reads less like a first-hand account and more like someone handed them a script. The most charitable explanation is that TPUSA gave journalists a carefully edited version and they simply ran with it. But if they knowingly covered for a false narrative, that's not something you just walk back. Meanwhile, TPUSA supporters have completely flipped the script. According to them, we're supposed to be furious at Candace for having the footage and not revealing it sooner. We're supposed to ignore the checkmate move she just pulled, ignore how she let them expose themselves, and instead focus our energy on being upset at her timing. That's not how this works! Most people either suspected she had something or flat out hoped she did. The theory posted just yesterday turned out to be almost exactly right. Here it is. In my opinion, Charlie did speak at the Aspen event. But I think the reason they can't release the full, unedited footage is that the quotes they've been attributing to him are being presented out of context. My theory is that no donor actually asked what happens if Charlie is suddenly gone. Instead, Charlie may have been answering completely different questions, and those answers were later pieced together to create a different narrative. It's even possible that some portions were enhanced or generated with AI, for example, the part where he appoints Erika. That is just my opinion based on everything we've seen so far. Then Candace announced she was holding off on her show to give TPUSA time to respond because they had actually identified which donor asked the succession question. And that changes things a little. If a real donor genuinely asked that question, then Charlie probably did answer it. But that still leaves the door wide open for the theory that the specific part where he supposedly appoints Erika as CEO was manipulated, and when he mentioned Erika doing a great job, he was most likely talking about her leading the faith division, not running the entire organization. That's where things stand with everything we know right now. And what Candace is making crystal clear in her tweet is this. She has the footage, and in that footage, Charlie never said, I appoint Erika to be the next CEO of Turning Point USA. Never. Which means if those words aren't in the original, unedited 3-hour video, then what TPUSA released has to be manipulated. We said it looked that way. We said it sounded that way. And now we're finally closing in on actual proof. If Candace drops that full video, it would mean Erika, Andrew, and Blake allegedly sat together and built an AI version of Charlie's voice to push a story that simply wasn't true, all while publicly tearing Candace apart and letting their supporters attack her across the internet. The nerve! And now their response is to tell everyone to be angry at Candace? No chance. Nobody's falling for that flip. If anything, the strategy she used was sharp, calculated, and it worked. Here's a sample of the attempts to spin this around. One person wrote, I would say it's pretty diabolical to sit on the Aspen video and still harass TPUSA and Erika, to accuse Erika of having motive to harm Charlie when the whole time you knew Charlie appointed her as CEO. Why lie about it? People only lie to cover something up. Here's the problem with that take: they completely misread what happened. Candace having the footage doesn't mean the footage shows Charlie appointing Erika as CEO. That's the whole point. It's not in the uncut version. That portion simply does not exist in the 3-hour recording Candace has been holding, which means the version TPUSA released, where Charlie supposedly makes that appointment, is allegedly fabricated. Then someone else wrote. What is objectively hilarious here is that Candace Owens just knowingly admits to intentionally lying for 7 months. By admitting she's had this video for 7 months, her countless comments about Charlie GP and it not possibly being legit were false, except she already knew that. Textbook malice. Again, completely missing the point. Candace never claimed the entire TPUSA video was fake. She's saying that specific portion, the appointment, is what was manipulated. The rest could be real. That's a crucial distinction that these commenters keep glossing over. And then there's this response that actually nails it perfectly. She sat on that video for 7 months waiting to see what TPUSA would release. Now she knows exactly what was edited. If she had revealed it earlier, they wouldn't have released anything at all. The timing was everything. Exactly! The timing wasn't deception, it was strategy. And it paid off completely. Then there's one more clip that resurfaced this week, and looking back at it now, it has aged terribly. And we're not even talking about something small here, we're talking about allegedly faking a dead man's voice, faking his words, faking his image. If tweeting as Charlie is already deeply disturbing, then manufacturing an AI version of his voice to push a false narrative to thousands of people takes it to a whole different level of wrong. And Erika knows exactly what we're talking about. That's everything we have for now. Candace is set to go back on air, and you already know this story is far from over. The receipts are piling up, the cracks are getting wider, and the truth has a funny way of coming out, especially when someone's been quietly holding a 3-hour video for 7 months. So now it's your turn. Do you think Candace sitting on that footage was a genius power move, or did she cross a line by staying quiet for so long? Was it brilliant strategy or a betrayal of the audience that trusted her? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is just getting started. If this video had you locked in, make sure you hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to see what's really going on. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another episode. See you in the next one.